Okay, so now to start taking off some of the stuff up here on the bulkhead. So eventually we're going to take the window out, obviously. And there's the windshield washer nodules. It's a hand pump. They fit through here. It's a Whitworth. I found Whitworth nut on the bottom, plastic top. Tubing went on there. They came off pretty easily. And you can see the spot where they went. Obviously they painted without removing them. These are standard British windscreen wipers that you have at this time. Take that off. And then there's cover thing that comes off like that. And then you can eventually get that out of your way to do the painting. Now back to taking bits and pieces off the Morse Minor before we take the windscreen out. The hinges here, they're fairly easy to remove. They have two studs, and you get to them through the glove box opening on each side of the car. And of course, you have to have the insert, the cardboard insert for the glove box out. But once that's out, it's easy to get in there and unscrew those. So that's what we're going to do, and get those out of our way. And I'm almost positive, of course, that they left them on there when they sprayed this this gold-colored paint on. Okay, here's the passenger side glove box. There's no insert or anything in there right now. You can see the windscreen wiper, which I've pulled down and out of the way. There's the tube that hooked up for the washer. And then those are the two studs and the nuts that hold the hinge for the bonnet. And so super easy to get to once you got the liner for the glove box out of your way. Okay, so once the nuts are off the studs, then you can just twist this a little bit and break any seal, and off it comes. And those are the two studs. You can see the hinge off and a little bit of the overspray on there. But here's something interesting you want to keep in mind. This is the front stud, this is the rear stud, and you notice that they had a kind of a cupped washer, inverted cupped washer, which is on the rear stud. And if you look at the back, you see how there's a sort of a little dome there, and that fits on it like that. And so there's a little bit different, the front and the rear stud, and there's this little cupped washer here. So you might want to keep track of that. And I'm going to replace these, but I'm going to keep track of the hardware. And you can see hardware is in perfectly good shape. Now, underneath the hinge, you keep water out and all of that. There's a sort of a plastic seal here. Obviously, those are going to need to be replaced, and we'll take them off and when we're finishing this. Now, the windscreen is fine. It doesn't seem to have any chips or cracks or anything, but really to paint the car it has to come out, and you can see a few reasons. One is that it's very dry and hard and starting to crack in places, and so that's not doing its job. You can see that it's receded a little bit, so you see some of the original blue around here. And then, of course, a little overcompensation here. You have some of the gold paint, which they sprayed on this because they didn't really mask it properly. And then finally, this is a little insert strip here. You can see that it's just basically gone to black. And so, you know, and I find personally taking out windscreens and putting them back in particular is really a pain. But it has to be done, and done in such a way that you don't break this one and then have to get a new one. So we'll get down to that adventure. So to get the trim strip out, you can see it's just sort of pressed in there between the rubber of the molding, and has a shape that fits in there. You can just get a screwdriver under there. I'm using a little bit of a socket just to give me an angle so I could pry down and push up. And once I did that, it starts to release it. And then you work around and can get it out of there. And again, this one is just rubbish, so I'm not too worried about the shape it's going to be in once it's out. Now you can see how easily this then pops out of there. Of course, with how stiff this rubber is, it wouldn't be so easy getting it in. But you can see this rubber is completely perished. So, you know, it had to be replaced even if we weren't repainting the car. It's just useless at this point. But anyway, we're going to get that out, and then we're going to get after the rubber and get the windscreen out. Once that center trim strip is out, you can even as hard as this rubber is, you can feel that the glass begins to move a bit when you press on it. And so now what we got to do is cut around the edge and then bring this forward. And since the bonnet's off, we've made a little platform with a blanket, a moving blanket on here. And we'll clean this up really well and put some suction cups on it to help hold it. Okay, this gives you just an idea of how basically trashed this was. This is, I just pulled on it and it's just coming apart like this. Now I don't want the glass in any way to go backwards or anything. We get this bit here and pull it up a little bit. You can see the edge of the glass there. And it's this part we want to get off of here. And then bring the glass forward. You can see right there is the edge of the glass. And this is all basically falling apart as you pull on it. Now normally I'd get a blade and just cut through here. And then you can see the edge of the glass. But this is just so bad that you can just basically peel it off like that. It's that bad a shape. And you know, California sun, where this car has been for a long time, you don't have such a problem with rust, but any kind of rubber bits and things like that, well, over time, they basically get beaten by the sun and get hard and begin to rot. So this had to come out. This had to come out definitely. So there are a few spots where the rubber is still firm enough that you have to use a blade to cut it. But what's great is we can see the edge of the glass, so we can make sure that we're making our cuts far away from the glass and give us enough room to move the glass out. Okay, so we've worked right around this thing, and now we're going to try to get it off. And there we go. We've laid it down here. Came off nice and easily. Once it's off, and thank you, Edwin, for your assistance. Once it's off, this is easy to get off. And of course, it's no good. And you can see the original teal blue that the car was painted. And you can also see that the metal here is in remarkably good shape. No rust or anything like that at all. And so now that's off. Now we can clear this up, and we've got a clear track to run to sand off that old paint, take it back down, primer it, and then paint it back to this lovely teal blue color. Edwin, thanks so much.
Of course.
With the windscreen out of the way, we want to also take the rear view mirror off. This is the original Morris Minor style mirror. You see the suction pad goes onto the windscreen like that, and it swivels in here. There's a cover on it. A lot of times with British cars, you have just a chrome thing here and a couple of screws, but this has got a plastic cover on it, and that will need to be pried away. So I just use my fingers to pull that away, and once it's down, then it reveals 3 Phillips headed screws that you can just unscrew and take the mirror away.